to the first part of our tutorial series. In this part, we'll start with covering onboarding and KYC. So to start with, we have two landing pages. Just to know that everything that I will be showing will be shown on the test environment. Outside of the test environment, we also have QA environment, which we do use for the release purposes, and production. So we have two landing pages, .ca and .com. The main difference is that basically we have two companies, FinHaven Technology and FinHaven Private Markets, so which is FinHaven Capital. So FinHaven Capital uses .ca domain and FinHaven Technology uses .com domain. So on the .com website, you can see all the information about FinHaven Technology. And on the FinHaven.ca website, you can see information about FinHaven Private Markets, which is FinHaven Capital. Okay, so here we can sign in and also onboard as an issuer, as an investor. Basically, onboard as an investor leads to the same form as sign in, but just the difference is that registration part of that form. And onboard as an issuer just loads a form, which will be sent to the corporate finance, which is investment banking. We can see information about our open deals. We can see some legal documents. As well as we have two contact forms. We have contact form itself, and we have form where you can subscribe for our newsletters. This one goes to the MailChimp. This one just gets emailed to appropriate person in FinHaven. So here we can sign in, or we can go straight to here, onboard as an issuer. If we go here, we can just click.
Hello and welcome to the FinHaven Private Markets tutorial. Today we will view how a potential investor can register at the FPM platform. So we will start with the registration page. A user can get here by going on test.finhaven.ca/sign up. And if it's an already existing investor, this is the link that they need to go to. So sign in instead of sign up. But for today, to check the registration of a new user, I will start with the sign up URL. I will choose my first and last name. And then just to differentiate what kind of user I want to be today. And today we will be only viewing the individual accredited investor type. So I will type in the IA and just some random numbers. FinHaven.com. For the password, our golden standard password is this one, the BCSC 2019 . But since a new requirement is that password must contain lowercase letters as well, I can just add an A in the end, let's say, as an example. And this will be a user's new password that will satisfy all the conditions. And I will just type in the same password again. And then for the phone number, it's also a new standard that the phone numbers should have a code. It could be a +1, could be +7, any other code. And then the phone number must have, so let's say right now it doesn't have sufficient number of numbers. So right now it's 4. But once it's 5 numbers, then it already satisfies the condition. But let's just type in, let's say, a Canadian number, a 604 area code. And phone number is complete. Then user clicks on sign up. they have to receive an email right now notifying them to activate their account. Here's the email that says, "Hello, welcome to FinWallet Capital." And we will click on Activate Account now. And your registration has been confirmed. Great. I also need to actually copy this email address in order to sign in. So now is this sign-in page that I was showing before. I will type in the password again and click on sign in. Here we get on the onboarding registration page. On register your information page, client needs to enter their legal first name if they have a middle name, then the middle name as well, and legal last name or names if there is more than one. Now let's just start with, let's say John Smith, and the date of birth. So a client should be over 18 years old. If, let's say, I choose February 9, 2022, then once I click next, we will see it later, the platform will tell me that I should be over 18 years old. So for the country of residence, only Canada is available as an option, because all our investors should be from Canada. And so for this part, I consent to receive emails about FinWallet private markets. This is optional. So user can either select it or unselect it. But these two other options about consenting to disclose the name, date of birth, and address to third-party service provider, this one is not optional, and user has to check it off. Same as the privacy policy part. If one of them is not checked off, then they will be highlighted. It will be saying that please check off this box. So if you want to proceed, right? So let's just do that. And when I check off this box, a privacy policy opens up, and user can just look at the links if they want. It will open in a new window, so which is very convenient. User doesn't have to click the back button. I will just close it. They should scroll all the way down in order to click the I acknowledge part, because right now at the moment we cannot click it. And now I click on I acknowledge and click next. And as I said, this notification pops up that you must be 18 years of age or older. So I will choose just 1995 and click next. And here we get to the main dashboard. So from this dashboard, clients can choose, well, this is the first card that they have to select. They click start, and that's how they can start choosing what type of client they want to be. But here it will show all types of cards that are available for clients. We'll just click start. On the select your account type page, user has to select whether they want to be an individual account or an entity account. So since today we are testing the individual accredited investor type, I will select an individual right now and click next. And also on the right side of the application, the user can always read some more additional information about what is going on the left side. So we always have an explanation on the right side. Right now, I'm not going to read what is written there, but user can always do that later. So individual account selected, and then click next. And to determine your investor type is between the permitted client and the accredited investor. So here's the explanation as well of what each type of client means. And I will choose an accredited investor for now. And we get to the accredited investor declaration. If I selected the permitted client, then the client would get to the permitted client declaration that has different options right here. So a client should choose one of these options if, let's say, they want to just proceed without clicking anything, and then a required message pops up. I can either click one option, 2, 3, or all of them. And if a client selects this last option, that they are currently or formerly registered under securities legislation in the jurisdiction of Canada, then they have to enter their national registration database number. So this cannot be left blank. If it's left blank, then it will get highlighted in red. They can either just type in any number that is their national registration number, or it can be entered in the text format. So let's say if they don't have it as the message says, then contact your firm. So I will just say, I'll contact my firm. And then it will let me go through. So I click next, and now user sees that they are individual accredited investor now. And as we saw in the beginning, these other cards were not available. They were just grayed out. And now after we completed the first card, then all these other cards became available. So if user wishes, they can actually choose any card in order, but right now, for testing purposes, I will just show all cards that go in order after the first one. So to go to the next card, user can either click on Resume Application or click directly on Financial Information card. And the progress is also updated right here on top. And let's go to the next card, which is the Financial Information. And we can see the progress updated here on top as well. And if we click on Return Home, we see the same amount, same percentage. So let's go back. And because we haven't filled out this field first time, now that we come back to this card, it's just all highlighted in red because it's a required part and we cannot just leave it blank. So declare net assets. Here, a client should declare estimated total for net financial assets. And then the second part is as well estimated total for net assets, but it just has a different explanation. Here, then the first one, it says about cash, securities, insurance. And the second part, it's about net financial assets. Plus all other assets of any kind. So here I can enter any number really except for the negative numbers. If I do that, then it will give me a message that only positive numbers are allowed. Same here. Only positive numbers are allowed. So it could be 0 even. But for now, I will enter, well, let's say 3 million. I'm rich. And here, let's say 4 million, not 44. Okay. And click Next. The next questionnaire in Financial Information card is funds for your investment. So a user has to click here to confirm that the funds will be drawn from an account in a Canadian institution. And if this is not clicked, then user won't be able to proceed if they click next. And how will you fund your investments on FPM? And user has to either click one option or anything that applies. And for now, I will click on everything just in case, just to show that they are all clickable. And here, are you borrowing money to invest? They can say yes. If they do answer yes, then an additional question pops up asking, will you be able to service the debt even if you lose all the money? They can either say yes or no. Or if they click no, then there is no additional questions. Also, in the meantime, the progress on top is updated. 21, we can always check that. Yes, it's all correct. And click next. To go to the next questionnaire in the financial information card. Source of wealth, is any of your income or wealth sourced outside of Canada? If they say no, then no additional questions. If they say yes, then they have to explain from which countries. So could be, yeah, why not Cuba? And then, does your wealth or do your funds we invest in through FinWallet private markets, in part or in whole, come from another person? So if we say no, then obviously we don't have to explain anything. If we say yes, then, well, then user has to provide all the information. The name, let's say, Roger Waters. So date of birth of this person, and we can just click on this calendar sign and select, let's say, February 9. We have to indicate the residential address. Vancouver, could be any city really. And country, let's say Canada. There is actually no validation on this part, so it can be any residential address. If user wants to add another person, they can do so, and then if they can add up to 4 people in total. And let's say if they want to delete some information that they entered here or here, they can just click on the X and they will be gone. And then next, what are the sources of your wealth? And then user can just click on any. If here they selected the financial investments that are made in other jurisdictions, they have to explain which jurisdiction it is. If they want to leave this field blank, then it will be highlighted in red. It will not let them continue. So for now, I'll unclick it. Same here, they have to indicate the jurisdiction. And here, a sale of a business or business assets, name of businesses, and name of jurisdiction as well. All that cannot be left blank. And then user clicks next. Oh, okay. I see what happened. So A should be no less than 19, right? So because I chose the year of 2022, it stopped me. So I will just, let's say 1990. Now I can proceed. Investment purpose is a different card. So let's go back to return home and see what's the name of this card. It's called Investment Knowledge and Experience. There are 3 ways how a user can get to any card, except for the first 2 cards. So first way I already showed is by resume application button. Another way is by clicking directly on a card. And if we want to get to this investment knowledge card, we can click on the previous financial information card, and well, if we proceed one by one, like I showed before, we can click next, and that's how we get. That's the third way how to get to cards. So investment purpose is the first questionnaire of the card, and we have to also answer all these questions before we can proceed, otherwise application doesn't allow us to go any further. What are your primary intended purpose and investment objectives for this account? And we can click check off all that applies. So here, if user chooses other, they have to fill this out. It's a required field. Will anyone else have a financial interest in this account? If we say no, nothing happens. If we say yes, then we have to indicate the name of a person. And same here, if they are asking if we will take any instructions from anyone else when making an investment and trading decisions. If user says yes, and then they also have to indicate the name of a person. So there is no validation on these fields. Basically, it can be even numbers. So if user says something like that, it will allow him to proceed. So there is no validation. Basically, it cannot be left blank, but it can be anything the user enters. We click next and we get to the investment knowledge questionnaire. And here in the first question, how would you rate your overall investment knowledge level? There is 3 options: limited, moderate, and extensive. User can read what each one of these options mean right here on the right side. So let's say moderate. And in the next question, I have invented in 5 or more private issuers under offering memorandum. And either no or yes, there is no additional options. Another question, do you hold any professional designations? So if user says no, then no, and if yes, then they have to say what it is. Let's say CFA. And click next. And this is the last questionnaire of the card. We see that the progress is updated to 40. And we're close to the middle of the application. So before you invest, do you require a financial forecast? No? Oh yes. No additional questions. Have you ever conducted your own due diligence? If user says yes, then additional question pops up. What are your main sources of information for due diligence purposes? And here a user can just say, well, as an example, subscription-based database, right? So just an example, there is also no validation on this field. When you invest in a private issuer, do you consider the track record and integrity of management? No or yes. One thing about answering these questions is that if, let's say, user chose no in this part, then when compliance is viewing the application of this user, this question is flagged for the compliance. So it shows like as a red flag, meaning that, well, there is basically suggestion to reject this user. Not just for this question, but there is more question all along the application that in the end indicate to compliance admin that this user, well, is recommended for rejection, depending on how they answer. But for user, of course, it doesn't show that they are recommended for rejection. And then the next question is, after making private investments, do you generally request management updates on a regular basis? We can say no. And what percentage of your total investment portfolio do you estimate is currently invested in private issue securities? Here, we cannot enter negative numbers only numbers from 1 to 100 are allowed. So no zeros are accepted, or anything above 100 is not accepted. We can say 50% or just 50, doesn't matter, and click next. So this is the next card, determine your risk profile. Let's return home and see that investment knowledge and experience card is already completed. And we are at 45%. So let's go back in the risk profile card to the determine your risk profile questionnaire and start answering. How would you rate your overall risk tolerance? Low, medium, or high? And again, on the right side, user can see the explanation. We can enter anything. Medium. What would you rate your risk tolerance for investments you will make in private issuer through FINWallet private market? How would you rate? Low, medium, or high? Let's say low. I think this is one of the questions that are red flagged as well. So later, when there will be videos about compliance approving a user, we could see all this red flags. Which of the following describes you best? If my investments through FINWallet private markets do not return the principal within 2 years, I will be in financial trouble. Let's say that. Are you prepared to hold your investment in FINWallet private market private issuers for at least 3 years? We say no. You may not be able to redeem or sell your investments made through FINWallet private markets for a lengthy period. Would this be a concern to you? Yes. If we say yes, then we have to explain the reason. And do financial investments held outside of FINWallet private markets allow you to achieve your overall financial objectives if you lose all your money? We can say no, no, or yes. There is no additional questions. And then this part, these 3 last questions are actually, these 2 are mandatory, and the last question will not be mandatory. So this is optional. Please estimate the composition of your investment portfolio held outside of FINWallet private markets, public versus private. And when we click this, we have to indicate the percentage. It can be either 100% all in one, or it can be broken down in 2. The only thing is that it cannot be a negative number again. Same message that we were getting in previous cards, only numbers from 1 to 100 are allowed. It cannot be anything over 100. Well, we can just say 50 and 50. If we make a mistake, like for example 50 and 40, then it will be highlighted all in red, and then we get the message that total percentage must equal to 100. So 50 and 50, and same here. There is 4 options for us to estimate the composition of investment portfolio. Security types. So here, let's say fixed income, 30, let's say another 30, 8, and 40. Same in this part, no negative numbers, not anything outside of the range of 1 to 100. And this question, as I said, is optional. So if I click next right now, it's also about the estimation of composition. So this is about sectors and industry where our portfolio is held. And this one is not highlighted in red, which means that it's not mandatory. So are you able to withstand a complete loss of your investment? If we say yes or no, there is no additional question. So I can leave this blank and it won't stop me. So business connections is next card. Let's see what it looks like. So It's called a relationship declaration card, actually, and there's two questionnaires that are called business connections and personal connections. On business connections, in business connections questionnaire, we can see that we only have this one question. I work in one of these professions or industries, and we can check what applies. Any of these options, let's say import or export, car book dealership. It can be multiple options, but if user says none, then all other options will be unselected. We'll click next. And the second part of the business connections questionnaire asks a few questions. Are you a director or officer of an issuer or a subsidiary of an issuer whose shares are traded on a stock exchange or over the counter? And then if a user says yes, then they have to enter names of a company. Well, we'll just say Apple. And there is no validation on this field because name of a company obviously can be anything. And have you ever been a founder, director, insider, or officer of a private issuer? And we can answer yes. If yes, then how many times? It can be a number, it can be a word, and how many years experience did you gain? And it can be any number, any word, whatever client wants to write. So, do you individually or with other people own or control more than 10% of the voting shares in such a company? If they say that yes, then again, the name of a company needs to be entered, or multiple companies. And do you have 25% or more beneficial ownership of a business? And then if client answers yes, then they have to list all names of those businesses. Then we click next. And we get to the second personal connections questionnaire of this card. And this is about whether a potential client shares a household with anyone who works, who is an employee, for example, of a FinHaven, or if they are a securities dealer or director. So if we say yes, then again, we have to indicate names in both questions. And then, do you know another person that has or is the beneficial owner of the FPM account? Again, if we say yes, then we provide their first and last names. Oh, we can just say, yeah, Paul Jones, for example. And if I return home right now, it will show the card as incomplete because I haven't clicked on next. So we are at 60% right now. Let's return to the card, click next, and we proceed to the next personal information card. This part of the application uses the third-party service that is called Sum&Sub. We can see this logo on the bottom. And here it just asks us if we agree to processing of our personal information. We just have to consent and click next. Then here's the document upload stage, and user can choose either to upload their passport, driver's license, ID card, or residence permit. So for testing purposes, we're always using this one document that is a driver's license that is not anyone's actual driver's license. It just basically has the correct format. I will show you right now. We have to upload both sides of the document. So this is a driver's license of an imaginary person that just has the expiry date and all the information about the person, just like an actual driver's license. If we upload anything, like for example, an expired driver's license that the platform will notice that and it will not accept this document. So that's why we have to upload something that is up to date. And then the backside of the document too. So it usually uploads pretty quick, and we can proceed to the next part that asks us if we ever used any other name. If user says yes, then they have to indicate the name. We'll say no. And click next. And this is the part where user has to scan their face. So I'm just clicking I'm ready. And actually, before we proceed, I want you to pay attention here at the bottom. There is no navigation back or like the back button or next button, because if user, like before that, user could click back, right? And then this whole part of the Sum&Sub would just cancel. I mean, whatever information user entered before, it will just basically be canceled, and they will have to provide all the information again. And so while we were testing, I mean, that's how it was happening. But right now, we just removed all the navigation buttons in the Sum&Sub part. So I'll click I'm ready and scan the face. Okay. Okay, so the face scan was successful. That's good from the first time, because usually it asks, well, not usually, sometimes it asks me to scan the face 2 times. This time it worked from the first time. And then we have to enter the proof of residence. So address line can be any street, city, I'll say Vancouver, state and province, British Columbia. Postal code and country can be only Canada. As we can see, it's pre-selected. Upload the document. Can be just any document, really. And click next. And then we can see the review page. So whatever we uploaded, we can go back to that document. For example, driver's license. We can click edit, and then we can see the documents that I uploaded. Click next and get to the review page. And then next again. And this is the second part of the personal information card. So right now, if I scroll down, we can see the back and next buttons because we are not in the Sum&Sub part anymore. So if I click on return home, I can actually go back in the card. With Sum&Sub, this wouldn't happen. Like with Sum&Sub, I would have to fill everything out again, as I mentioned. So for the citizenship, I can enter anything. If a user has more than one citizenship, they can add it. Oops. Canada, for example, they can add more citizenship. So it can be any country. And then if a user wants to remove the additional citizenships, they just click on the X, and that's it. And in which countries do you have tax residency status? So if it is a user is a Canadian tax resident, then they have to indicate their social insurance number, and it can be only 9 digits. So if user, let's say, just mistakenly added 8 digits, then it wouldn't allow him to proceed, and the SIN should be 9 numbers long, is the message that they will get. So it's just a random number, obviously. And then if they are also a tax resident or a citizen of the United States, then there's a TIN number. That is also 9 digits, and if it's like less than 9, we will get the same message. And it doesn't have to be obviously checked off, but just for testing purposes, then I will show that I am a tax resident of a jurisdiction other than Canada. And if a user is a tax payer in another country, then they will need to indicate what country it is and what is the TIN number there. And there is no validation, so it can be any number actually. 2 numbers, can be more than that. Nobody will check. Only compliance after the user submits already. And then I do not have a taxpayer ID identification number for a specific jurisdiction. If a client checks off this, there's 3 options that pop up. I will apply or have applied for a taxpayer identification number but haven't received it is one option. Then my jurisdiction of tax residency doesn't issue taxpayer ID numbers. It could be that. Or if it's another reason, then basically a client can just explain what happens. So also, if we choose this last option right now, all other options will be unselected. And I click next. Trusted contact person is a different card, as we can see here. The following card has 2 questionnaires. Let's click. The first one is trusted contact person. And we have one question here. Would you like to appoint a trusted contact person? If a user says yes, they have to fill out all this information about a trusted contact person. Let's look what exactly they have to fill out. Please describe trusted contact person's relationship with you. And then we can say, well, let's say it's a sister. Provide information about your trusted contact person, their name, last name, email, a phone number. So let's say it will be Jane Smith. For the email, there is a specific format. So if we start with the name, then we have the @ sign and the dot right away. So if, let's say, we leave it the way it is right now, we get this message, please provide correct email. If we leave it like that, again, it will be a mistake. And then once we fill everything out, that's when it will accept. The format here includes the phone number includes the code as well, a country code. And if the phone number is incomplete, it will also ask us to provide the correct phone number. And the mailing address needs to be indicated as well. So let's start with the street, city, and then the country. We can add another person, and it can be up to 4 trusted people that we can add. And if we need to delete this information, again, as in previous examples, we can just click on the X and they will be removed. Now we have to consent. We have to check off these 2 fields, because otherwise we will not be able to proceed. Click next, because this is required. We just agree that I designate the above individuals as a trusted person, and then we can just read what we consent to. So I will check off both. And now this page is complete. Here on the right side, we can read about the trusted person. Click next. Now this card is half complete because there is only 2 questionnaires. So now the next questionnaire is power of attorney. And have you appointed a power of attorney, excuse me, with authority to invest and or trade on the account on your behalf? We can say either no or yes. If we say yes, then we also, same as with previous questionnaire, we have to fill out this information. We can read how the trusted person is different from power of attorney here on the right side. So same here. We can either fill this out or leave it blank. The format for the email and for the phone number is exactly the same as for a trusted person. Let's say I'll just indicate first and last name. And in this format. Same with the address. And Canada. So we can click on, actually if we just leave this card, it will show as incomplete again. And let's click next. So that will direct us to the PEFP PEDP questionnaire. So the next card is the politically exposed foreign person or politically exposed domestic person or head of international organization. So these are the things that a client has to declare. And here we see the options. And we have to check off anything that applies to us. So one of the options, I am politically exposed foreign person. And if a client not sure what it is, then they can always click here and read through who can be a politically exposed foreign person, domestic person, and then the other definitions, heads of international organization, close associate, or a family member, which is, the last one should be pretty easy. And if I click here, then the next page, I will have to fill this information out about the office and position and relevant dates when I was a politically exposed foreign person. If I click back and just look at other options, is I have a family member who is a PEFP, or I am a PEDP, or I have a family member who is a PEDP. And then all other options, I have a family member who is HIO, or I am a close associate, or none of the above. If a client checks off a few options, but then decides, well, or made a mistake, and then decides to click none of the above, then all other options get unselected. So if right now I do go ahead and click I am a PEFP and click next, well, let's say that I have a family member who is also a PEDP. Click next. It's highlighted in red because I was already on this page and I didn't fill this out. So office position, let's just say I was as an example, head of state. Relevant dates. There is no validation on this part. So it can either be some random numbers or it can be a text format. So let's just say it's So here for the family member information, we have to fill out their name, position, relationships, source of wealth, and relevant dates. There is also no format, no specific format on this part. And then a client can add up to 24 additional family members who are PEDP. I'm not going to do it right now, but in total there can be 25 additional people, same as with the PEFP and in this part HIO. Well, I can just click none of the above, and then there is no next page if I click none of the above for the same card. And this is the new card. Submit your documents. If I return home right now, I'll see that all other cards now show completed. And we have two options here. This is a step 3, submit your documents. Two options presented. First option is upload document. Second option is verification letter. From here, let's pick option 1 and see what options a user has of the documents that they can upload. So it says that you may need more than one document to demonstrate that you qualify based on your income and or assets. We can pick 1 or 2, depending on how many documents we want to upload. We can pick all of them. But at this point, I will only upload 1 document. So I will choose it from here, choose file, or a user can just drag and drop it. For now, I will choose from here. So I can choose an income statement, for example, document. And it might take a little bit of time to upload it, but that's fine. Right now, at this point, we can just look at other options, what the user can upload. And here there is an explanation why FinHaven is collecting this. So it can be notice of assessment from CRA or payroll statement or anything like that. And the size of a document, of each document, should be no more than 20 megabytes. So if a client for some reason wants to upload a really big document that exceeds this size, then the platform will show him an arrow and it will not be accepted. So it's either they will have to break it down or maybe figure out with compliance or what to do, or with the support team what to do. So we see that this document has been uploaded now. And let's see what happens when user tries uploading something that is over 20 megabytes. So as we can see, it says that, sorry, this file type is not allowed, and the accepted file types are. And file is larger than 20 megabytes. So user won't be able to proceed if they just, they will not be able to upload this document if they just uploaded that. And let's see what happens when we click on return home. And as you can see on this part, step 3, that the option 2 is gone because we chose just upload document option. So if it was option 2 that we chose, then it will show here and the upload document part would be gone. User only has one option, and so if they choose to upload both, like it wouldn't be right. Let's go back to this part and click next. And the next part is upload a POA document. So let's go back right now and see what happens if user wants to choose a verification letter. So we see that the progress bar changed to 88 because with the upload document, we already were almost at 100%. Only one card really left. And right now we're at 88 again. And if we click on Return Home, we see that option 2 is chosen. In the verification letter part, what it does is it sends a letter to a professional. So once a client submits this information, the letter is sent to either their lawyer, accountant, or investment banking advisor, whoever can provide the verification that this client's status is verified. They will not provide any details. As we can see here in the explanation, this professional is not going to provide any details about client's financial information. They just verify their status. So a client can choose here between accountant or other professional. It wouldn't really matter what they choose right now because the text of the verification letter doesn't change depending on which option we choose. So it can be an accountant right now. And name of a firm that we'll provide will be just an example company. And name of individual contacted firm. And let's pick the address. The email address is in the same format as addresses in previous cards. So actually, right now, for testing purpose, I will provide the address, my own address, so that we could see what is the text of the verification letter, how it looks after the professional receives it. And for the phone number, let's just pick any random number. And the client needs to check off the box to certify that the person named above has up-to-date information about the status. We click Next. And this is the verification letter preview. So this is what the letter will look like when a professional receives it. It has the name of a company, name of a person, their email address, and the following text. And in the end, they will have to sign here and send it back. So we have to, again, check off the box. I have instructed the person named above to provide you with the direct verification of my accredited investor status. So I will click Next, and this will direct me to the next card, which is the last card that's left. And as we remember, in the POA document, in the POA card, we selected yes, and we filled out the information about the POA. So right now we have to upload a document, a copy of a signed POA. And I had it somewhere here. For testing purposes, it doesn't have to be like a POA document, but for me, just it's less confusing to name them this way and upload to the corresponding card. So on the right side, again, there is an explanation of what a POA is. So in case if client haven't had the POA, if they just clicked no in the POA card and haven't uploaded any haven't filled out any information, then this card just wouldn't be present. So we would already be done with the application, and we would be able to click on Review and Submit. So as we can see here, it's uploaded, and we click Next. Or actually, we can click on Return Home right now and see that all cards, let's see, I click Next, and then I return home and see that all cards are completed. I click on Review and Submit and get to the consents page. And each type of client, individual accredited, individual permitted, or entity permitted, entity accredited, all those types of clients have different looking consents page. In this case, since it's an individual accredited investor, they have this selection of check boxes that they have to check off. If they want to just proceed without checking off boxes, they won't be able to do so. So also it has the message that we require consent to all the terms. Again, if I click next right now, it doesn't do anything. And client has to acknowledge that FPM doesn't guarantee a two-sided market and certify that all the information provided in this questionnaire is complete and accurate. So I click next. And we get the congratulations pop-up window that we have completed all the questions. Now we click OK and proceed to the Review and Submit page. And here we can see the full questionnaire. On the right side, we have the names of the cards that we just filled out. And we can scroll it down, or client can click on names of the cards, financial information, risk profile, and it will direct them here. On the left side, it will direct them to the correct card. One word about the personal information is that it doesn't have the edit button to go back to the Sum&Sub part. Every card here on the left side has the edit button where we can go back to a card and change something. But the personal information, the Sum&Sub part, doesn't have it. And it says that if name, birth date, alias, and address are incorrect, please contact us. So we can do that here via the chat, the service desk. I'll just click an X. So let's see what happens when user goes back to any card and wants to update their information. Let's say it's a financial information card. As we remember, there were 3 different questionnaires in here. And we can go back to any of these 3 questionnaires. Let's select the first one. For example, it's 4 million that I want to say here. And 5 million here. So if I click back button, it will return me to the Review and Submit page. Here it is. And we see the updated information was there. And if I go back in the card, the updated information is saved. If I click next from here, it will direct me to the next questionnaire in sequence in the same card. So it's the second questionnaire and it's the third questionnaire of the financial information card. Then if I click next, it will direct me to the Review and Submit page again. So a client cannot do the cannot make a change here in the first card. It already has the status individual accredited investor. So if for some reason client wants to change to another type of client, they can go back in the very end. There is a button return home, so they can go back to the card, this one, and change their investor type. But we will not do it right now. I'll just go through the same steps and go back in to the Review and Submit page. So let's scroll all the way down. As we can see, all the filled out information here. And when I click next, it directs me to the RDI page. So client has to, the RDI is the relationship disclosure information. So client has to consent to, scroll all the way down, look through the documents, and after that, they have to check off the box to consent to it. So if we click on links, we can see that they open in a new window. And all links should be working. So I will scroll all the way down right now. And click on I have read and understood the mandatory relationship disclosure information and privacy policy. After that, client can click submit. And as we can see, the ID verification update is successful and the message, thank you for your submission. And the client, the FinHaven compliance team will receive, as we can see here, the message about the submission of a new application. New KYC submission requires review, the full name of a client, and then the jurisdiction and the email address. And from this step, compliance can go into the client profile and view the application. So as I mentioned before, they will see the red flags if the client replied on some questions in a way that has the recommendation to reject this client, then there will be red flags. And they will be, after they review the application, they will be able to make a decision whether to send a client agreement to this client or not, or whether to reject the client. So let's see the verification letter that a client received. That actually Jane Jones, that was a accountant that they received. Review document. This is the DocuSign that FinHaven uses to assign the agreements, a subscription agreement for a client as well. And this is what it looks like. Same as we viewed in the verification letter step. It's the same text here. Dear Jane Jones, we received an application from your client John Smith, and the following text. And then the accountant can sign here. And then they finish this part. So this was the last part that I wanted to show for the individual accredited investor application. And we'll see you in next videos. Thank you.
Okay, so now the KYC is submitted. From now, they can do not that much. They can change their password and edit their information, which will not edit their KYC information. It will only edit it in the profile. KYC is just a snapshot in time. So however it was submitted, it will stay the same for the compliance. Okay. Here we have documents section. Trade confirmation monthly statements I'll cover a bit later, but what we have here is KYC documents. These are the documents that I have just uploaded, as remember a few minutes earlier. We can view details and we can download those documents. Okay. We can also upload the new document. We can choose the type and we can choose the file. A description, and it will be again uploaded to the box here, and so the compliance will be able to see it. That could be in case investor uploaded the wrong file, or the documents investor uploaded are not enough to confirm either identity or status of accredited investor. Okay, so right now we'll log out, and right now we'll switch ourselves to the role of compliance. So for example, here we've just got email to the compliance that there is a new KYC submission requires review. This email compliance received only after someone submits KYC. So when someone is in the progress of KYC, there is no email notifications. Compliance can see name, email, and jurisdiction, as well as the link. to the investor's profile. Okay, so let's log in as a compliance now. Okay, here's the compliance dashboard. I'll go a bit compliance dashboard and other admins dashboard in another video, but in here we can just find our investor. So we'll go only around investor stuff. So what we have here, we have 4 investor types: individual, entity. But as I said earlier, both of them can be accredited and permitted, accredited and permitted. So the only important thing to remember is that investor gets into the one of the categories only after KYC is being submitted. While KYC is still in progress, it drops in here. So all the KYC that are in progress are here. Okay. So for example, those ones only KYC approved and submitted. So for example, here you can see that's our investor that we just registered a few minutes ago. So right now we can review investor's profile. Okay, so also the thing to remember that this is individual investor. Okay, so we can see here transactions, there is nothing, portfolio again nothing, but we can see there is a tab investor internal notes which we can populate, and I'll talk a bit more later, and KYC Suitability. So that tab only available for compliance and UDP. From this point, compliance can review the application. Okay, all those links are leading to the same page basically, but different section of the page. So, and here compliance can review the page. And those are red flags that I said while we were filling the KYC. Basically, they are not straight declining of KYC. And basically, they don't do much functionality except showing and bringing attention from compliance to this particular point. Okay, so from this point, compliance can access the risk level, add the note, and save that. Okay, so you can see low note and updated by KCB is a compliance officer that I'm using account. Okay, so basically whoever will do that will be saying here, and as long as time and date stamps. From this point, we can see date and state of KYC application submitted. What compliance can do? Compliance can either reject user or approve, but to approve they need to send and wait for investor to sign client agreement. Okay, every investor to use our platform have to sign their client agreement. So just a quick thing that I'm not going to go through, but just remember. So there is also reset KYC possibility. So in case someone filled the wrong KYC, chosen the wrong KYC type, for example, entity permitted instead of individual permitted, or individual permitted instead of individual accredited, in this, or just made a typo in the KYC. In that scenario, compliance can reject that investor, and then there will be available button reset KYC. What that will do, when investor is rejected, the account will be suspended and investor won't be able to access it. And then when reset KYC, all the information about KYC will be deleted, and basically investor will be dropped at the step 1, so they could start from the big scratch. We won't go through it, but let's do sending client agreement. Compliance need to sign it with their PIN. I'll show a bit later what's the PIN and how we set them. So now compliance sending client agreement to the investor. We'll quickly switch to the investor role right now. So right now this is email I'm receiving as an investor. So this is my investor email. So investor just received that email from DocuSign to sign client agreement. Okay. At the time I'll view that agreement, compliance will be notified that that investor have viewed the particular agreement. So for example, here you can see John Smith viewed, please sign the FINWallet investor client agreement. Okay, so from here, investor, this is pre-populated, and we can just go to sign it. Okay, so investor signs, finish, things. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. So investor have just signed client agreement, and so we just got to copies, one to compliance and one to investor. So this is the copy to the investor. They can just follow the link and view the document, or they can scroll all the way and they will get their copy here. And compliance will get it as well. So here's compliance copy. Okay. We use DocuSign for all the documents. Basically for storing, we use Box. There we store all the documents, for example, KYC. But the ones that need client's action, like client agreement or subscription agreement, those ones are stored and configured in the DocuSign. I'll show that a bit later. Okay, so, and now I can approve that investor. Clicking approve investor. Okay, status is approved, and we can see here that information KYC is approved. Also, status have changed to approved. KYC will be still accessible as it's just a snapshot in time, and we can see it here. Okay, and here's the email we got. Here's new email we got. Your account has been approved. That's the email to the investor. So you can see, welcome, you can log in now. Okay, so, and here are the internal notes come. Internal notes used for two purposes. First one, there are some automated messages about actions that are being performed to that particular account of that particular investor. We have two places of the notes, inside investor's profile and inside fund transfer. I'll go about that. I'll talk about that a bit later. Okay, and here you can see that Casey Black, who is compliance, and on the top of KYC, approve KYC, also send client agreement, and set risk level. Okay. Those messages were edited automatically, but I also can add notes manually. The only important thing to remember about notes that no one can edit or delete them. So they're really good auditing trail about the investor or debugging. So for example, if something happened to the account, we can track all the actions performed to this account to find the issue or reproduce it possibly. Okay, so here we're done from the compliance perspective. Let's log in as an investor. Okay, we're getting back to the investor's hat, and our account just got approved. We got the email, so right now we can log in the account. And first thing we'll see is notification about setting FINWallet. Okay, so here we've been asked to set FINWallet. This one won't go away, so it always will be there. Let's do it. Okay, so let's quickly talk about FINWallet. So let me download. Okay, so here's our FINWallet. FINWallet is a document that we download with our private key and public key and some more information. So private key is really, really important to keep and store in a really safe place, preferably offline, like just printing the paper and storing it somewhere. Okay, so how that's being used. That private key identifies you as an owner of that money account. Okay, so, and that confirms you as the holder of the funds. So basically, whenever you need to perform any transaction on the platform, you would need to have the private key. And that's basically the same for all the users in the platform, regardless of their role. It's same for compliance, accounting, investment banking, issuers, and investors. Okay. Sometimes some actions require private key, like for example, as you saw when we were approving investor, that have required compliance to enter a PIN. Okay, I'll show what PIN is. So because private key is pretty long, what we do is let me show you. We store it in a encrypted way in your browser's cache. And so here you set up your PIN, and basically next time when I need to sign a transaction, I'll enter my PIN, which will used as a key to decrypt encrypted private key, which then will be used to store the transaction to identify that I am the owner of the account. Okay, here we can reset the key, and so basically right now we just got the status approved and we have all the access. Let's go quickly. What do we have here? We can change the password, obviously. We can reset private key. Okay, so the private key remember that it will be stored in your browser's cache. So the situations when you will not need to enter it again. If you use the same browser, same laptop, without cleaning the cache. But if, for example, you use different browser, different laptop, you have cleaned your cache or used incognito window, you will have to use and set your private key again, and will enter your PIN. Okay, here you can reset your wallet. That will send you email, and we'll go through the process of wallet reset a bit later. You can edit your profile. We have Documents tab, which will go with a bit more details later. And here's FINWallet cache page, which is probably the most important page. Here we have our cash account. For now, we only have Canadian dollars. We can manage funds. We can transfer money to your bank or add money. If it's we want to add money, we will be shown with PDF with wire instructions, which then will be used to deposit money. We'll go over the process a bit later. To withdraw, you would need to enter all the details so we could do the withdrawal. Here we have pending investment. My investment, I'll go about them over them a bit later, and we have transaction history, which we'll again cover a bit later. Okay, we have two more tabs, which we will go a bit later. And basically that's it about KYC onboarding. Up to this moment, investor is fully available and their account is fully available to be used in the platform. The only thing left is they have to deposit the money, and so we will be able to invest as an investor. I'll cover that in the next video. Thank you.